to call to order the Marshall City Council meeting for Monday, March 18th, 2019. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Karen.
Here.
Councilmember Gates.
Here.
Councilmember McNeil.
Here.
Councilmember Metzger. Here. Councilmember Traver.
Here.
Councilmember Underhill.
Here.
Councilmember Wolfersberger.
Here.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
We'll start this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll start this evening with the approval of agenda. First, we'll have public comment on agenda items, followed by the consent agenda. Item 8A will be our Farmers Market Annual Report. Item 9A is the event report for Fridays at the Fountain Music Series. 10A will be the City of Marshall Code of Ordinance, Sections 137.04. And then on to item 12A, the resolution authorizing civil fine schedule for municipal civil infractions. Item 12B, EarthCom labor contract for FiberNet Phase 5. 12C is the 2019 City Visioning Goals and Objectives. And 12D, the hydroelectric dam remediation project, followed by public comment on non-agenda items, and then council and manager communications. We will also be adding to the consent agenda the MSCPA bill for $604,312.31. Any other additions or deletions from the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, if you desire, I would like to, based on staff and legal counsel, like to withdraw item 10A and 12A and come back to you probably in the month of May on both these subjects. And suggest that if there's anybody in the audience that was going to speak at the public hearing, maybe you'd hear their comments under public comment on agenda items, since that was there originally.
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda. So item 7A is to schedule the public hearing for the Northeast Neighborhood Improvement Authority Development and Tax Incremental Financing Plan. Item 7B is to schedule a public hearing amendments to Chapter 51, Water of the City of Marshall Code of Ordinances. Item 7C is Traffic Control Order 107, Parking on Green Street. Item 7D is the MDOT contract for Monroe Street Bridge. Item 7E is construction oversight and testing services for replacement of the Monroe Street Bridge. Item 7F is to schedule a work session for Saturday, April 27th to discuss the fiscal year 2020 proposed budget. Item 7G are the City Council minutes for the work session and regular session on Monday, March 4th, 2019. And item 7H are the city bills, including the MSCPA bill, to total $1,740,547.83. Any questions, comments, additions, or deletions of the consent agenda?
I'd make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Support it.
We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Member Gates.
Yes.
Member McNeil.
Yes.
Member Metzger.
Yes.
Member Traver.
Yes.
Member Underhill.
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger.
Yes.
Mayor Karen.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We're going to move back to item 6, which is public comment on agenda items. Anyone who would like to speak on any agenda items, please come up. You'll have 5 minutes to do so, to state your name and address for the record.
You are sitting right in the sun. You're sitting right in the sun.
I just have a question on the Kathy Miller, 540 Cosmopolitan. On the C, item C under the consent agenda, the traffic order 107 for the no parking on Green Street, is that because of the construction on Michigan Avenue?
If I may, Mayor. No, it's not. We were looking at, first of all, on Green Street, that section cannot have parking on both sides because of the width of the street. The chief looked at what would be the most sensible place to put parking and gain the most spaces. So there's going to be a little minor change in the block by the Catholic Church. And I think, is there another block, Jim, that is changed?
Down between Hamilton and Exchange.
So it'll be one side parking, but it'll be intermittent by, basically it'll be the south side except the block by the middle school.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
All right, any other comments on agenda items? All right, hearing none, we will move on to item 8A, which is a presentation from the Farmers Market Annual Report.
What happened to all 7?
Hi, friends. So as you all know, we had our winter market at the B.E. Henry Building. We averaged about 100 shoppers a week, which is substantially less than we have during the summer, but that's to be expected. We only had 13 vendor booths at the B.E. Henry Building, plus, of course, less produce and stuff for the winter. One thing that's happened recently, the Battle Creek Farmers Market has stopped doing their Saturday market, and they are just doing Friday afternoons. So Ken Harshman and I have been reaching out to their vendors, hoping to take some of them. We already have about 2 or 3 potential vendors that we're going to bring from the Battle Creek Market formally on Saturdays to come to Marshall. So we're looking forward to that. For our last indoor winter market on April 27th, we decided to move to the Belcher Building at the fairgrounds to be in conjunction with the Vintage Market and Camper Show. On the Facebook page that I have, there's 7,700 likes or interest in the event, so we're hoping to have that be a strong finish for our vendors coming out of the winter and going back into summer. And then we would like to continue to use the lot at 125 West Green Street for our summer market, if that is agreeable with everyone, which starts May 4th. That's all I got.
Any questions for Jen?
You want that? I don't care. Please.
I did not have a chance to talk to you before. I just want to get it home the public to the market. Jen's been working really hard, and we've come up with a new youth market program for the market, and we kind of want to get the news out. Starting this year, we will have 3 designated booths for youth vendors. I sent out the initial email to parents that have been participated before, and that was 29 families, and I've already gotten 9 responses back, and so we're looking forward to a real viable youth market this summer. There'll be a workshop in April for them, so anybody that you know of, their kids want to be involved in the market. We're trying to tie up some stuff maybe and have the kids participate somewhat in the fair too with their vegetables and stuff. So I think it's a good learning experience for them. So pass that around. That's all.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We will move on to item 9A, which is an event report regarding Fridays at the Fountain Music Series, and Tom's going to help us with that one.
Can we step back once? Is by ordinance, we have to approve the farmers market use of that parking lot every year. So if there could be a motion just on record for that first.
I'd make a motion to allow the farmers market to use the Green Street address as their upcoming summer market again this year.
Support?
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to item 9A now, the event report for Fridays at the Fountain.
I think most of you were here at the last meeting. I don't think I can do better than what Ian and Jennifer did. Again, this is just formalizing the request. This went to Kristen Bauer and provides more concerts at the Fountain area. So we'll be glad to answer any questions, but otherwise we think it's a great event for the downtown and the city.
It's an awesome event.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. The conversation about whether to tie into the downtown speakers is Has that question been put to the downtown businesses to see if they want that or if they support it?
It has not, but I think that's something that probably should be
Considered.
just the time and if exactly how that works. I have not had a chance to talk with some of the people that put that together, so we will do that. Good question.
All right, moving on, we will go to item 12B, which will be the EarthCom labor contract for FiberNet Phase 5, and Ed will be here to help us with that.
Mr. Mayor, council members. Let's see, just a little bit of history, and I know you've probably heard this several times, but City Council did back on March 20th, just 2 years ago, well now 2017, approve the construction, or really the engineering, construction, and rollout of the FiberNet project. And we really hadn't done any, completed any detailed engineering up to that point because we weren't going to spend that money to do that until the council approved the project. So that was really I guess the bell ringer to go forward with it, and that's when we started engineering, designing, and constructing the FiberNet project. And about a year later, on March 19th, we were presenting a portion, and the FiberNet project had 6 phases of construction, engineering and construction for it. It was given an update to the City Council on March 19th, 2018, to talk about, I think it was phase either 3 or 4 at that time, to get some contract approval for the contractors. And at the end of that discussion, there was a strong, I guess, recommendation that that staff tries to complete the project 6 months earlier by the end of 2018 and to connect 750 customers also by that time period. So, and we hadn't even engineered this phase 6 yet, which was rolled out. We were successful on phase 2, and we used that as a premise basis for the number of units that would be in phase 6. And we also discussed with the contractor, EarthCon, about using the same unit prices on phase 6 that they had on phase 2. And they were agreeable to that, and things were fine. But as it turned out, the number of units in phase 6 was considerably more, and some of the work activities, it turned out to be considerably more than what we expected. And so the contract ran over, the council approved about $275,000 total for the contract, and it turned out to be total about, at this point, they've done enough units to equate to $350,000 worth of work. So we've had a lot of discussions. We did a unit checks and make sure all the units were correct and there wasn't any discrepancies in what was being turned in by the contractor, and that's the reason it's taken too long, because this work was really completed last fall in time for the connecting the customers. So it's, and of course they would like to get paid. So, and I've looked the units over, looked the quality over, and I believe that we owe them that money for the number of additional units that they completed. So I recommend that in order to close the contract out with EarthCom, that the council approve a $350,000 total contract, which is about a $71,500 increase over the approved contract in, let's see, in 2018.
Ed, where are the funds coming from? Is that part of your budget?
It is coming out of the fiber fund, yes, and it's good. And we're picking up more and more revenues every week, so there is money. We hope we don't have to borrow money from either the agency or from the electric fund to complete this, but I just did a cost analysis today, and we're going to be presenting this CBA, cost benefit analysis, to you, an update based on the actuals and where we are today on revenues, where we are today on actual construction, where we think we're going to be at the end of the fiscal year, at the end of this calendar year, in the number of customers on April 15th. So it is a $71,000 increase over the original contract.
Ed, when you say units, what What do you mean, is that like individual residences or businesses,
No,
connections?
no, the units were really fiber splicing. I mean,
Okay.
it's like each one of those, they have up to 96 or 128 fiber count.
Okay,
And there was a lot more, as it turned out, a lot more what we call storage placed into the system where they roll it back. So if something happens to it, you can unwind this and reconnect the system. But all that all takes a lot more splicing to do that. And it's $18 per splice.
okay. I'm just trying to
That's what
understand.
just all those little cabinets around with cables running in.
Oh,
and out.
that's what those are. So I'm just trying to understand why we weren't miscounted or, why we weren't able to anticipate that.
Well, we just understated the number of units. It was
Oh,
based
okay.
on, again, on phase 2, and phase 3 ended up being more complicated, or phase 5 ended up being more complicated than phase 2, and we based everything on our outcomes on phase 2.
I see. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ed? All right, so the recommendation is to improve the increase in the EarthCom contract to $350,000 to allow the closeout of the contract. Seek a motion to do so.
So moved.
Support.
We will do a roll call vote on this, please.
Member McNeil?
Yes.
Member Metzger?
Yes.
Member Traver?
Yes.
Member Underhill?
Yes.
Member Wolfersberger?
Yes.
Mayor Karen?
Yes,
Member Gates?
Yes.
Motion carried.
thank you. Thank you, Ed. We'll move on to item 12C, which is the 2019 City Visioning Goals and Objectives. And Tom will go over that with us.
Back in February, you met with city staff and Dr. Lou Bender to put together our visioning and goals and objectives. Once you were done with it, you returned it to staff. We sat down and came up with the tasks that we feel we could accomplish in a year. I'm using this calendar year as the year. And so what you have here is a document that we would like you to accept, and then we will then start using this document on our daily basis to accomplish what your vision and goals were.
Okay. So I know we met with Dr. Bender and put this together, and I think it's a very great document that has certainly a lot of work for us moving forward and for our director team and the whole city. But it's all, a lot of great ideas and items that will help us move forward. So any other comments on the visioning session?
I agree, we just don't want to lose sight of it.
Right. And that's a good point. I was going to bring that up is we want to be reporting back to you on a regular basis. And we may do a work session in about 6 months to see where we're at, and definitely a year later, after probably February 2020, we will then be looking at what do we want to do that next year and start moving forward. It's going to be I'm not sure what adjective I want to use, but it's going to be a moving document. It's, as you move forward, you may have to take a step back, and then, so it's going to be a fun time for all of us to really work on these things. It is a lot of work, but we'll do our best to accomplish it.
Right, and I do think meeting more often for updates is a really great idea, so thank you.
Yeah, as long as we don't, make this and put it on the shelf, if we, come back to it every couple of months to make sure we're following it, I think we'll be able to get a lot more done, so.
One thing staff will be doing here, once we get through budget, we get everybody back healthy, we're going to start putting dates in when do we want to accomplish this by, so that we have some dates internally that we can start shooting for.
Awesome.
Great. All right, if there are no further comments, I would seek a motion to adopt the 2019 City Visioning Goals and Objectives.
So moved.
Support.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That brings us to item 12D, the hydroelectric dam remediation project, and that will be presented to us by Ed and Tom.
Okay. Ed, you want to just come up? I'm going to start. It's been going on for quite a while, as you all know, and I think I told all of you who are running for office the first time, this is probably one of your 2 top discussion decisions you're going to have to make on your time on council. What we're recommending, staff is recommending, you had a couple options presented to you by Stan Tech at our work session a couple weeks ago, is that we're recommending that we remediate the dam, basically reconstruct the section at an estimated cost of about $2.2 million and leave the impoundment there. We're making that recommendation so that you can decide how you want to vote to approve this. If you want to accept our recommendation tonight, or if you would like to do a public hearing at a future date, and then make your decision at that point. It's whatever, how you would feel as elected officials that you would want to move on this project.
Tom, I know we've talked a lot and extensively about this for a long while. Is there any reason that we would defer this any longer?
When we had the forum, a few of you attended that. There was people in attendance who wanted to take the dam out. But the cost, as you've hired me to be your manager, and I have to look at the physical decisions that we make as staff and as council, I think this is the most responsible decision. That would be the only reason that I would say that you would hold a public hearing. I believe you have one neighbor in the audience here who lives in there, and I know he's told me his opinion about trying to keep the impoundment there. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but again, if you if you decide to have more public comment, I don't know if that is necessary, but I wanted to, at least you have that option if you don't want to. If we want to, if you make a decision, we will then move forward with the next step, with the, putting our piece out for engineering services to start the process to design this repair. Now, we do not, I'm a civil engineer, Kristen is a civil engineer, we're all professional engineers licensed. This is not a project that we have any of the capability of accomplishing, especially with the cofferdam and with the FERC and DEQ licensing. And so we definitely will have to, this will be a very specialized project.
I guess two questions. I don't see any address in the recommendation of just how we'll pay for the $2.2 million.
Well, we've talked, Ed and I and John Bartlett, that it would be coming from the electric fund because this was built for the hydroelectric. We feel that's the appropriate spot. We feel that with the potential load growth, and I'm going to let Ed talk on this, load growth that we see coming in the community here in the next, starting probably within 6 months from now and look in the future, is that our revenues will be increasing. We are hoping we do not have to bond for this, but we would look at this as be prepared if we needed to do a bond. So similar to the substation that we had at the last meeting, the transformer, but we think the revenues that we should be able to pay for this cash as we move along. So Ed, I'm going to let you sort of interject. You did the analysis.
I can't add a whole lot to it. The only caveat I would add to this, there is a little bit of, I won't call it urgency, but that's the word I used, I guess. But we owe the FERC another letter by May 30th saying what's our plans. I've deferred them 3 or 4 times now, and I haven't really got a lot of pressure to get on with it, but I feel that every time that we do this, I get a little bit more, I guess, pointed letter back from them saying, are you going to do this, or what's going to happen? And I got to do that by May 30th, send them a letter, either one way or the other, either asking again for, to extend it, and it's been going on for, let's see, since 2015 now, so it's 4 years into this, and about every year I go back to them. So there's some I guess, pressure to get a decision made, and so we can get FERC and get all the aid or the regulatory agencies on track with this. And just to add, originally we thought we could do this for $1 million, and that was with the information we had at the time. And it's from the Enbridge spill, and people had done some grab samples off the sediment, and they said it was clean. So we were going to lower the pond and not have to do a cofferdam. Well, then we started talking to the regulators, said, well, you ought to just take maybe a few samples and see what, just to confirm what we think. And so we took those, we didn't take them, the Calhoun Conservation District took them for us, and they had them sent to an independent lab. And it turned out there was contamination in the sediment. And then it really expanded, well, you better do a whole full-fledged sediment analysis of the whole thing to see. The DEQ said you just got to do this. And a risk with letting the dam just breach it or lowering it for repair is that anytime we're disturbing that sediment, there's a liability there with it getting downstream and then future cleanups and commingling with other activities. And I don't think it's, my recommendation is something that I don't think the city ought to undertake, is trying to, even trying to take a channel in that or stirring up that sediment up there. Right now, we're a non-liable, the city is a non-liable owner of a contaminated site, and I would recommend at this point it stay like that.
Second question was, does this action require regulatory approval? Or do we have to, we can't just move forward, we have to submit?
We got to send all the plans into FERC. They've got to stamp them and approve them, and that's the reason we're going to need really a full-fledged hydroelectric consultant to develop those engineering plans for us. We can go out and get the consultants. We'll do that ourselves and send an RFP out and select what we figure is the best qualified bid. But then we'll have to use those people to actually, it's a pretty complicated process to tear all that out and put the cofferdam in, the sheet pilings and everything.
We discussed, I can't remember if the word is pump or only one pump is working, one generator, and we discussed the cost it would take to repair a second generator, around $30,000.
Correct.
Should we be considering that at this time as well?
What I'd like to do is at this time know where you want to head here. Then we would look at what would be the cost to refurbish, rewind, repower, to see what is the cost, what's the benefit, and then also look at the annual costs for the FERC licensing and present back to you the whole cost analysis of positive or negative. I don't know what that number would be. So we can work on this because FERC will not give up the license until we have the repair done. So if we continue, we wouldn't have to ask for that withdrawal of the license. So we'd like to be working, once we start on this, then start looking at the repowering if that's something the council wants to do.
Okay.
With it being like the 40 to 50 year fix, is there some way we can plan to have a long-term fix, like as a plan to that date? Like at that point, that people, like their council at that time knows this is building up to a permanent fix or a larger scale fix?
Yeah, our current license expires in 2035.
Okay.
That would probably be, and that's the old one was what, about $250,000 license, so the other one would probably be doubled by 2035, so it'd be $500,000 to relicense if the council at that point would like to do that. But and that's my recommendation. That'd be the time to do that.
Sorry, do you have a question?
So you asked if what the disposition was around a public hearing on this. I think we've had a couple of opportunities for the public to express their interest. We've seen the pressure from FERC to respond with a plan for now going on a couple of years. And we've had enough evaluation of sediment and the potential cost if we do a full dam replacement.
Excuse me.
Nick doesn't like what I'm saying.
No, I
That's
did.
okay.
I actually did, so keep it up.
Personally, my position is that we don't need to go to the public again. I don't think there's much more information that we could take in at this point from the public that would alter our path. That said, I don't think there's enough for me. I don't see enough clarity in the fiscal effects and how we would fund this to approve what's being proposed today. So I'd prefer that if we can, maybe spend a little bit more time on that and come back to one of the April sessions for approval for the plan.
I guess I would like a little more clarity on what else you would like to see. Again, we're not recommending spending any money at this time.
They just want to do the plan.
What we would do is, next step would go out for RFPs to hire an engineering consultant. And then at that time, that would be the first time you would be actually seeing a financial request. Would you be satisfied if we presented that financial analysis at that time so we can at least start moving forward with the, getting the engineering? There won't be any cost to get the engineering consultant RFPs out because we'll be doing that in-house, so.
Maybe what we could do is just amend tonight the recommendation, the language of the recommendation. The language of the recommendation says to approve the plan to remediate the earthen embankment through the use of the cofferdam and retain the hydroelectric dam and impoundment, and that is attached to the $2.2 million estimate. So the way it's written seems to me like tonight, if we approve that, we are approving the $2.2 million budget. And that's where I'm just not comfortable yet with the information that we've got.
I'm just trying to think of what
Would the actual expenditures end up on the 2020 budget, do we think, or?
I think the engineering's going to take a year. By the time we get the RFPs out and they get started, it's going to go, engineering will take most of 2020. And I don't think this will be a winter project to do. So the actual big expenditures will be in 2021, maybe some in 2022.
Okay.
Could I make a motion then to move that we recommend to allow staff to proceed with issuing an RFP for the embankment through the use of a cofferdam and retain the hydroelectric dam impoundment?
Support.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think you wanted a second.
One discussion first?
Didn't
I have a motion on the floor.
Second.
Yeah, I had the motion on the floor. We can discuss it.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just trying to put a motion out there that we can just allow staff to move forward to get the RFP, but we're not approving any costs. We're just trying to get the costs, and we're estimating 2.2. RFPs might come back at 1.5 to 3.5.
And he has to file the paperwork to the state.
Well, first of all, the RFP will be just on the engineering, not the remediation and construction.
Okay.
So it'll be one portion of the project cost. Once your engineer that you retain designs, goes for permits, then they're going to go for bids, and that'll be a year from now or more. So, the RFP is just going to be for the engineering side of it.
Which
So
is
the
irrelevant
2.2,
here, right?
the 2.2 that we're discussing wouldn't even include
That's the dam itself.
the engineering.
That was, I think that included the engineering in that 2.2.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So it's a part of that 2.2.
And you're absolutely right. That's a conceptual estimate. We won't know until you get the actual bids back in what it's really going to be, and then it's going to be up to the council to decide you want to spend the money or not.
Do we have directionally a sense of how much the engineering work would be?
I would estimate about $250,000.
Would they be on site here?
It depends on where they come from.
I mean, they'll be working from their corporate offices, wherever they would. In Calhoun County, there's not a engineering firm that could handle this project. You're looking, Detroit, Ann Arbor, Lansing, Grand Rapids. We'll try to, because of the DEQ permitting, it's always good to have somebody who has worked with the local agencies, the DEQ, even though this is a FERC regulated. Those are the things we'd be looking in the proposal for them to present. What experiences have they had on dealing with those agencies? But again, they'll be working, they'll come in, do their survey work, and then they'll, Stantec has done a lot of the work on this project. Lawson and Fisher out of South Bend has done some of the preliminary work. They do quite a bit of our work on the hydro. So there are multiple firms out there that could do this project.
Okay.
And so we felt we want the best firm, but we want to have a reasonable cost also.
Absolutely.
I think it's good to note, just for the information of the public, that the low-end estimate for the removal of the dam was $14 million. So as we're weighing these options, that's
Up to 88 million.
up to 88 million. So that's what we're weighing here.
Which is very cost prohibitive and just is. I mean, the 2.2 million to do the copper dam makes a whole lot of sense to me.
So there's a proposed motion. The only thing I would ask is that if we're going to vote on a version of the recommendation tonight, it would give me a bit of comfort if we can somehow include language that the budget that the city council would approve tonight would only be up to the $250,000 estimate for the engineering work, and that you bring back to council a revised.
I don't believe we're approving any of that tonight.
No. We'll be coming back with a recommendation on an engineer probably in 60. Ed and I haven't talked time frame yet, but we'll be coming back. You're not approving any expenditures tonight.
Okay.
The first expenditure you will have is when we come back to recommend the retainage of a design firm, which is going to be to give time to these consultants for also us to write the RFP. We might be 60 to 90 days. So
got it.
No dollar spending tonight.
I think at this point, what's being requested is not a budget, is a direction.
Right.
Yeah.
To do the plan. Okay.
All right, so I believe we have a motion and a second.
Well, we might have to tailor that motion a bit.
Yeah, so given that, I will pull back all of this wasted energy and say that I would be fine then with the recommendation as it was originally written, provided there's no financial expectation for a budget established tonight. So then maybe we could finish the vote by maybe
That'd be great.
not voting on the alteration, instead going back to the original language. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Ryan, does that?
I kind of agree with your first comment about needing to revise the recommendation as written a little bit, because it is a little bit unclear.
Yep.
So maybe some adaptation between my motion and the recommendation. Because if you read it as it's written, it does kind of feel like it allows them, I know they're not going to move forward and make the whole purchase, but it kind of, the way it's written, it kind of seems like they could.
So right now, our motion is to allow staff to proceed with issuing an RFP for the remediation of the earthen embankment through the use of a cofferdam.
That's it. It's not spending money.
It's not, it's
Maybe
just
add,
giving more of a direction.
if I could amend my motion, maybe add RFP
For engineering.
for an engineering firm to do the work of the.
She actually had that there.
I had
All
that
right.
there, but it's
Ah,
not
you
your
said-
recognize them.
Well written then.
And Jacob, you agree with that?
Yes.
Since you seconded?
Yes.
So
that's
I
the
would,
motion on the
I would
floor.
stick with the motion I have on the floor and not go back to the original, if we could. We all on the same page now?
What is the motion?
We're getting there.
Could you read that one more
I will
time?
read it again. To allow staff to proceed with issuing an RFP for a qualified engineering firm for the remediation of the earthen embankment through the use of a cofferdam and retain the hydroelectric dam impoundment.
You good with that?
Yeah, perfect.
Support.
Got it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Tom. Next, we will move to public comment on non-agenda items. Anyone wishing to speak will have 5 minutes to do so, and will need to state their name and address for the record. Anyone? All right, hearing none, we will move on to council and manager communications. Member Traver,
I have nothing tonight, thanks.
Member Underhill,
Nothing either?
I do not have anything, thank you.
staff.
I have one thing. Every time Ed is in here, he causes trouble. I just want you to know that.
He's just expensive. He's expensive.
Yes. You quit coming. I told you that last time.
One thing, former council member Williams, who is your representative to the 911 board, wanted to let you know that through some auditing at the 911 board, they had 3 systems that kept track of how to bill. They're now consolidating this, and they did find a mistake that was about $500 a quarter. So that'd be 3 quarters that we would be increasing, so about $1,500 for the actual budget. So he wanted me, he asked if he should come tonight. I said, no, I think I can handle it. But if you ever want him here, he's willing to come. So he misses all of you. So that's all I have, Scott.
Member Wolfersberger,
I don't have anything to add, thank you.
Member Gates.
The only thing I wanted to say real quick is I've enjoyed serving on the Farmers Market Board so far, and they do have a great idea of bringing in some youth vendors and youth activities, and I had mentioned in the meeting, and I think it's still a good idea to maybe connect them with the rec department, which has a wonderful website and is, you know, constantly has a lot of youth in the community in the loop, and so maybe you guys can get together. I don't know who the best contact person for them would be, but maybe a meeting of the minds would help to get that program going.
Jennifer.
Member McNeil.
Just a couple of things for the community. Reminder that the spring brush pickup is April 8th, and crews are going to make one pass, I think, of the city, and no leaf pickup this time. It is brush only. So have that to the curb by 8 a.m., I think, was the request on April 8th. And then the compost center opens for the season on April 26th, Fridays and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Thank you. I just wanted to express a happy birthday to Member Gates today, and thank you for spending your birthday evening with us. As all of you have probably seen, Consumers has started work on the downtown Michigan Avenue project, so I just wanted to give a little update that we've received from Consumers. So they've begun staging equipment at the Oaklawn warehouse site. They have an agreement with Oaklawn Hospital to store some of their equipment there, so it's nice and conveniently located to the project. Teams are now doing sewer locate work, so that's what you've seen blocked off the last week or two. And then construction work began this morning in the alleyways on the north side of Michigan Avenue, starting at High Street and moving east to west, and then also on the south side of Michigan Avenue, starting at Jefferson Street and moving east to west. So I don't know if you have anything else to add, Tom, but we are going to be seeing them out in the community. And
there was a question asked of me today, about when the street work. First of all, the water main and the bump outs will be occurring, and then MDOT paving. That is out for bid now, so we do not know a specific schedule. And so once we have a contractor lined up, they'll be giving us updates on a regular basis. So at this time, we do not have a specific schedule for the rest of the work.
so we're going to do our best to keep all of this information and get it out to the public as much as possible. The city's created a Facebook page, so you can go ahead and follow that, which will give updates as we receive them from our different contractors. You can find that on the City of Marshall Facebook page, a link to it. We're also doing our best to communicate with the downtown retailers to make them aware of what's happening, so they can help plan for how they're going to get through this project this summer as well. So with that being said, I don't think I have anything else, and I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.